Hi, I'm Laura. I am a dating and relationship coach. I've spent the last decade trying to understand why intelligent, self-aware, emotionally mature women keep ending up in the same frustrating relationships. And it isn't that there's anything wrong with them, and it's definitely not because there are no good men left, but it's because of something much more specific, and the good news is it's much more fixable. I've worked with women who have done years of self-development, therapy, read a lot of books, they know themselves and their patterns very well, and they still couldn't make it work until we found the missing piece. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what that is, the 5-step framework I use with my clients to help them finally break the pattern and attract a relationship that feels safe, connected, and deeply fulfilling. I want to start with my own story because I think it might sound familiar. For years, I tried so hard in my relationships, and yet I always had this feeling that maybe I just wasn't very good at them. I was capable, very organized, emotionally intelligent, and I thought I knew what I wanted, but I kept ending up in the same place. What I didn't understand at the time was how I was showing up. I was running everything, the household, the decisions, trying to help him become the version of himself that I believed he could be, trying to move us towards the kind of relationship that I wanted us to have. And I was leading, I was fixing, managing, making lists, making important decisions, and I thought I was being helpful and competent, but what it actually was control. And that control was pushing away the very thing that I was actually looking for. When that long-term relationship ended, what followed was almost a decade of short-lived connections, 3, 5, 6 months, same patterns, just with different men. I did a lot of therapy, inner child work, I read a lot of books, and I understood myself better every year that went by, but somehow something wasn't translating into my actual dating life. And then about 5 years ago, after a particularly traumatic breakup, where I was living off-grid here in Portugal at the time, and something cracked open. And from this, I found the framework that actually changed everything for me. And it wasn't just more insight or self-awareness, but a way of actually integrating what I already knew into my body, into my dating life, and all my relationships. And that framework is what I call the Elegantly Wild method. And that's what I want to walk you through today. Before I walk you through, I want to share the core insight that underpins all of it. Because a lot of dating advice focuses on the wrong thing. It focuses on strategy, what to say, when to text back, how to come across, and none of that actually gets to the root of the problem. And the root is this: most women who are stuck in repeating patterns are not stuck because of the men that they're choosing, but because of what they're carrying into every new connection, mostly without even realizing it. So this unresolved hurt from past relationships and a nervous system that's been in survival mode for years, and a way of showing up that was shaped decades ago and has never been updated. So think of it like this. Imagine that you've been driving the same route for 20 years. You don't think about it anymore, right? You just go. And that route is so familiar, so automatic that you could drive it in your sleep. And that's what patterns in relationship feel like. They're not conscious choices. They're these integrated routes. And until you interrupt them at the root, in the body, in the nervous system, in your actual lived experience, you will find yourself in versions of the same relationship over and over again, just with different faces. And that's what the Elegantly Wild method does, is it interrupts the root and it builds a whole new one. So these are the 5 steps. Step 1, clear the residue. So the first step is the one that a lot of women want to skip because they think that they've already done it. They think they've already processed the breakup. Maybe they've talked about it in therapy, certainly with their friends. Maybe they even think they've forgiven their ex and that they've moved on. But there's a difference between understanding what happened and actually moving through it in your body. And I see this all the time. A woman who can talk about her past relationship, sometimes even calmly and clearly, who has a very reasonable, very articulate explanation for why it didn't work, but who is still, without knowing it, being shaped by that relationship every single day. Still choosing men who feel familiar, still reacting in ways that mirror these old dynamics, still anxiously waiting for a text back, still feeling too much after they've known the man for just 2 weeks. And the first step is to go back and actually finish what was left unfinished. Not to reopen wounds, but to complete them. To move through the last 15 to 20% that most women never get to. all the resentment, the grief, the version of herself that she lost during that relationship. And when that clears, a lot shifts, not just emotionally, but in who she finds attractive, who she attracts, in what she'll tolerate, in how she walks into a room. I worked with a woman who had been divorced for about 3-4 years, and she thought she was completely over it. Within 2 sessions, we found something she had never allowed herself to feel, and it was a kind of grief that she had entirely bypassed by staying busy, staying the strong one, and just getting on with things. When she finally felt it, she said it felt like she was putting down a weight that she hadn't known that she was carrying. 3 months later, she was in one of the healthiest relationships that she'd ever experienced. The second step is where the real work happens, and it's the step that almost no dating coach talks about because it isn't particularly glamorous. Your nervous system is running the show, not your mind, not your intentions, not what you know about healthy relationships. When you meet someone you're attracted to, your nervous system responds. When he doesn't text back, your nervous system responds. When conflict arises, when he pulls back, when something feels uncertain or you feel insecure, your nervous system responds. And for most women who have experienced difficult relationships, abandonment or emotional unavailability, which is most of us, that response is fight, flight or freeze, or fawn. So you push, you overtext, you overthink, or you pull away, or you go very quiet and very agreeable and completely lose yourself. This is a nervous system in protection mode. And the work here is learning to notice the trigger before it takes over. Learning to create just enough space between what happens and how you respond so that you can choose rather than react. And this is the work that changes dating completely, because suddenly you're not at the mercy of every wobble. You can feel the anxiety, you can feel the uncertainty, the disappointment, but you can stay present with it instead of reacting in ways that you might later regret. Step 3, rediscover who you are now. This one is particularly important for the women that I work with because many of them have spent decades being someone for everybody else. A wife, a mother, a caregiver, the one who holds everything together. And somewhere in amongst all of that, the question of what she actually wants, who she actually is, what she actually needs, got buried. And maybe she doesn't even know what she enjoys anymore when nobody else is asking something from her. When these roles change, when the marriage ends or the children grow up or she finds herself alone for the first time in decades, there's a kind of disorientation that goes deeper than loneliness. She doesn't quite know who she is anymore and she can't attract the right person until she does. This step is about reconnecting, not to who she was 20 years ago, but to who she is now, to her needs, her desires, her non-negotiables. The version of herself that exists independently of any relationship, any other relationship aside from the one with herself, because that's the woman who dates from a space of clarity instead of from need, who can say no without feeling guilty, who doesn't disappear into a new relationship because she's already feeling whole within herself. Step 4, learn the relational skills. This is my favorite one. This is the topic I'm absolutely obsessed about because most of us were never taught how to do this. We were taught what a relationship should look like from the outside. We weren't taught how to communicate our needs without it becoming an attack, how to express a boundary without shutting down, how to navigate conflict without meaning that the relationship is threatened. And for women who grew up in households where connection felt somehow unsafe or where emotional needs weren't acknowledged, these skills are missing simply because nobody taught them. So this step is about building the practical toolkit, how to express vulnerably in a way that creates a closeness with the man rather than creating more distance. How to say that hurt me without it turning into some kind of criticism. How to understand masculine and feminine dynamics, not as some kind of rigid, outdated role, but as energies that, when they're in balance within us and without, create genuine attraction and an ease. How to have difficult conversations without either shutting down or escalating things. How to ask for what you need in a way that a man can actually hear without over-explaining it for 45 minutes first. These are learnable skills, and when women learn them, their relationships change immediately. Every relationship changes immediately, not because the men change, but because they're communicating in a completely different way, often for the first time. Step 5, practice in the dating arena. The final step is where everything comes together, because knowing this work is one thing, Embodying it in a real interaction with a real person in front of you is something completely different. Dating is a practice ground. Every date, every conversation, every text, every moment of insecurity is an opportunity to try a new response this time. To notice the moment that you want to chase reassurance, or to notice when you want to shut down and just disappear, delete and block. To notice a trigger and to choose differently this time, to express something honestly instead of managing the impression that you're making, managing his emotions. This is where patterns actually shift, not in theory, not in the therapy room, but in those moments when there's a real person in front of you. And this is also where so many women give up, because it feels messy, it feels icky, because it doesn't go perfectly, because the old patterns come back under pressure, and because dating can feel exhausting when every interaction feels loaded with meaning and emotional risk. What I teach my clients is to approach dating as a practice, not a performance. Every experience is information, and every date shows you something about yourself. Every trigger is a gift. Every short connection that doesn't work out has moved you closer to the one that eventually will. And when you date from that place, from a curiosity rather than fear, from groundedness rather than a sense of urgency, so much can change. And what I want you to notice is how these 5 steps build on each other. You can't fully regulate your nervous system if you're still carrying this unresolved residue from the past. You can't reconnect to who you are while your nervous system is in constant protection mode. And you can't learn new relational skills if you don't know what you actually need. And you can't practice in the dating arena without all of the above as your foundation. Most approaches to dating pick one of these pieces and ignore the rest. But strategy without inner work creates women who know all the rules, but still ultimately feel disconnected to themselves. And inner work without the practical skills creates women who are deeply self-aware, but still lost in the real-life actual interactions. The Elegantly Wild method holds all these 5 together, because that's where the real change happens. If you're watching this and recognizing yourself in any of what I've described, here's what I would suggest starting with. Step 1, get honest about what you're still carrying. Not what you've processed, what you're still carrying. Any resentment, any grief, any stories about men. And what version of yourself have you lost? That's where the work begins. Step 2, start noticing your nervous system in dating. Not judging it, just noticing. When do you feel the pull to overfunction? When do you feel the urge to pull away? What triggers the chase? Awareness is what creates the possibility for change. Step 3, ask yourself honestly, who am I now? Not who I was in my marriage or my last relationship, not who I was for my children. Who am I today on my own terms, and what do I want now that I'm no longer living entirely around the needs of others? These 3 questions alone will tell you a lot about where you are and what needs your attention. And I want to be honest with you about something before I finish. I am still on this journey myself. What I have is years of walking this terrain in my own life and alongside the women I work with. And what I know for certain is this: most women who do this work don't just date better, they live differently, more peacefully, more connected to themselves, more clear about what they'll accept and what they won't accept, and less willing to betray themselves just to keep a relationship. The relationship they're looking for becomes possible, not because they finally found the right man, but because they became someone who could experience love differently, someone who no longer abandoned themselves inside relationships. If this resonated with you, if you recognize yourself in any of what I've shared today, then the best next step is a conversation. I offer a private call where we can look at exactly where you are, what's keeping you stuck, and whether working together makes sense. The link to book that call is at the top of the description below. And if nothing else, I hope this video helped you feel a little less alone in what you're navigating. Bye for now.